Hiya, it's B, and I'm on to do a hashtag Snog, Marry, Avoid Tarot. Now, this is a video response to Jacob from the channel Jacob's Tarot Readings and Simon at the Hermits Cave. Now, although Jacob did originally start this hashtag video response, it was through Simon's channel that I became aware of this hashtag, and I think it was kind of like originally started by someone called Elle. I think she made a comment on the Hermits Cave Facebook group, but it was originally based around YouTubers that you would snog, marry, or avoid. Okay, so what I've decided to do is to combine the questions, what deck would you snog and marry? And that is because I will only snog a person that I am committed to or intend to commit to. So the deck that I've chosen for those two questions is this one here. It's the Afro Arcana Tarot deck. And, you know, I chose this deck because it's Rider-Waite-Smith inspired. And obviously I learned to read tarot on the Rider-Waite-Smith's system. So it's a system that I'm most comfortable with and familiar with. I find it reliable when it comes to readings, and it's a system that I truly trust. Now, the reason why I chose this particular deck is because I can relate to the archetypes. So I'm just going to show you a few cards from this deck. It's a nice deck. It's an indie deck. It's got nice matte cards and gold gilding. Okay, so the card that I would probably snog from this deck would be this one, which is the God of Swords, or in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith system he would be called the King of Swords. And that is because the God of Swords to me is like an intellectual person, quite quirky. I do like quirky individuals, fair and quite balanced. So this guy I would definitely snog. Okay, so question 2 is what deck would you avoid? And fortunately it would have to be this one here, which is the Moors Tarot. This deck here, you know, even though it's Rider-Waite-Smith inspired, I just can't connect to it. I've done several readings with this deck and I just have difficulties reading with it. So this is why I tend to avoid this deck. I'll just show you a few cards. It's a beautiful deck. The artwork is stunning. The cards are a nice matte cardstock. I just can't connect with it. So I think the card that I would avoid from this deck would have to be this one here, which is the Devil card. And the reason for that is because I do not wish to be dependent or tied down to anything that I have no control over. Okay, so the deck that I would divorce would have to be this one here. Well, to be quite honest, I like all my decks. I like, you know, I haven't got any decks that I really want to divorce or, you know, cut ties from. But if I had to choose a deck, it will be a Marseille deck, and that's because I have issues with pips. I just can't connect to the pips, find them difficult to read. I don't understand them. So I think that as this is my only full deck pip, full Marseille deck with pips in, it would have to be this deck. I mean, I do have one major only Marseille deck, and I do have another Marseille deck called, I think it's called the Marseille of the Cat, or Cat Marseille deck, but that deck's got little scenes on the pip cards, so they're kind of easy to interpret. So this deck here, I nicknamed it the Mind, Body and Spirit Marseille. It was my very first tarot deck, and I think Simon enlightened me and told me that this is actually called the Swiss Tarot deck. So when I say divorce, what I mean is that I would just probably separate the major arcana from the pip cards and just read with the majors. That's what I would do with this deck, but I wouldn't actually divorce it as in get rid of it, trade or part of it, because it's my first tarot deck and it means quite a lot to me. Okay, so the next question is, what deck would you have an illicit affair with? And that would have to be this deck here, which is my textured tarot. And here, so I think the reason why I chose this deck is because it's quite an interesting deck. It's easy to connect with, it's fun, it's quirky, it's just everything that I like in a tarot deck, and I just find it really attractive and easy to work with. Okay, so the next question is, just because I had to write them down, sorry about this, the naughty deck. Okay, so the deck that I chose for that question is this one here, and this is the Ghetto Tarot. I mean, I personally like this deck. It's kind of like a Rider-Waite inspired deck. It reads well. I find it easy to work with, but every time I look at reviews on this deck, it's always negative. You know, a lot of people say that the creator of this deck excuse me. A lot of people say that the creator of this deck used cultural appropriation. They say that she underpaid the actors and took all the credit for herself. There's a lot of negative, unkind reviews about this deck. So that's why I would put this one in the naughty corner. Just show you a few cards. But I personally like this deck and do enjoy working with it. But it's just got a lot of negative drama attached to it. Okay, so I think the next question is, favourite alternative place. So for that question, I chose this deck, which is the Legrandi Circus and Sideshow Tarot. And that's because I really love the circus. You know, when I was a little girl, whenever the circus was in town, I would be the first one there. I just like the circus kind of environment. I think the person that actually created this deck had some connections to the circus, and it's just a place that I actually like being in. So this would be a deck that I would choose for an alternative place that I enjoy. And the last question is a place where I would not like to be. And for that, the deck that I'd choose for that question would be my Crow Tarot. this one here. And that's because, although I don't mind seeing crows in pictures, I've actually got a deep phobia when it comes to crows, and I wouldn't like to be in a place where there's a lot of crows. It would actually freak me out. So this is why I chose this deck for a place that I wouldn't want to be. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed my video response, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.